Welcome back, everybody, to the Call Up Podcast. We deliver campus news and provide entertainment for Honolulu Community College. I'm your host, Chris, and with me today is Alan.
Hello.
Joining us for today is the coordinator for the Hawaiian Center here at HCC, Kale Aloha. Aloha today. How are you?
Aloha. I'm good, thank you.
So, how do you stay productive and motivated working virtually?
I think it's really important to set up a space. That was probably the biggest thing. Right now, I'm half-time back in the office, but I realized really quickly that I needed to have a dedicated space when I was working from home. Initially, I was just sitting on the couch, like I'm sure most other people were doing, but it was hard to be comfortable and stay focused. So I ended up making a space for myself in the living room that I only use that space for working so that I can make sure that I'm focused when I'm sitting there. But honestly, I think the hardest part of working from home is stopping. Not having that routine of leaving your office was really hard. So sometimes I would look at the clock and it's like 10 o'clock at night. It's like, oh, okay. I think I'm done for the day.
I think the hardest part for me is starting. Yeah, because my office space right now is right across from my bed. So,
and I purposefully did not put my workspace in my bedroom.
I had to move to the kitchen because there's no comfortable chairs in the house.
Yeah. Initially, I was on the dining table, but then after a while, people wanted somewhere to eat. So I got myself a little desk.
So could you explain to us what exactly is the Hawaiian Center?
Sure. So our center has been a part of the campus for a little over 10 years now. And when the center was first created, it was originally in Building 7, I believe where the math lab is today. And then it moved to Building 20. So when I started here in 2014, we were in Building 20 for quite a few years by that point. And then we were very fortunate to get some funding to renovate the space that we're currently in. So we are now in Building 5, which is the original science building on campus. And we're on the Makai wing of the building that's closest to Dillingham. So downstairs is our academic counseling and financial aid offices. And then upstairs, that whole wing is our Hawaiian Center. And so the center is intended, our mission is twofold. One is to support our Native Hawaiian students on campus, and the other part of our mission is to perpetuate Hawaiian culture, language, and values. And we do that through a variety of activities and services.
So what kind of services are those specifically?
So some of the services we offer, number one is academic and career advising. So all of our staff have experience working with students in guiding them to support them to help meet their academic and professional goals. We also offer college and career development activities. So we have workshops for skills development. We do different training type of stuff, internships. And then we also have taken students on field trips to sites. So for example, if students are interested in transferring to one of the four-year colleges, we've done group field trips. Of course, this is pre-COVID era. We've taken students to the four-year campuses and let them see what's available on those campuses, introduce them to some key people that would help them with the transition. And we've also done field trips to work sites as well. So like we've taken students to different companies to let them see, what's next as far as when they finish school, what are some things they could look forward to. In addition to that, we do a lot of cultural activities as well. So we've done cultural workshops. Pre-pandemic era, we did a lot of hands-on activities and workshops in the center. So we've had stuff like lauhala weaving. We've had food demonstrations, so how to make traditional foods, including making poi from, the traditional way with the poi pounder. We even had a workshop once on ni'ihau shell lace, and that was a really popular one. And then we've brought guest speakers in who can share information about the culture and history and different events. And then we also do, we're one of the co-sponsors for the Malama'aina Days. So we help coordinate the Malama'aina Day service learning opportunities. And those are really great because it gives our campus an opportunity to do community service, but also go to places on the island that might not as have been accessible. So we've gone to koa forests, we've done fish pond work. We even did some community service right before the pandemic, actually, where we got to help rebuild a wall for a turtle nesting area. So it's really fun because you get to go outside and do stuff with your hands and then learn some traditional resource management practices. And then also we do have counseling available in our center as well.
So, in your opinion, what do you think was the most memorable event that you guys did? Because that turtle thing sounds pretty fun. Yeah.
That was cool. Oh, that's a hard question. I don't know how to answer that. We've had so many activities. I really like the hands-on stuff. For me personally, I like crafting and stuff. So I know one of our workshops that has been pretty popular that we did 2019 and then the year before. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it this past year, which is a wreath making activity. So we bring in some plants and it's kind of similar to the way you make lei. So it was a nice modern adaptation of some traditional practices. So the wreath making workshops are fun for me. Anything that we do that's hands-on, that tends to be pretty popular. But we've also had some really memorable guest speakers too. So I'm sorry, that's a hard question for me to answer.
What programs does the Hawaiian Center offer for Native Hawaiian students?
So all of the activities and services I described, a lot of them are tied to some of the programs that we offer. So most of the programs that are currently in the center are grant funded, and we currently have 6 grant funded programs out of the Hawaiian Center. Probably the most well-known one, and this is actually our legacy program, is our Po'inanalu Native Hawaiian Korean Technical Education Program. This is actually the longest running Native Hawaiian serving program on our campus. They've been here for almost 30 years. So they've been a part of the campus for a long time. And the program provides direct support services to Native Hawaiian students who are in a CTE or a STEM program. So either in a career technical education or trades program, or if they're in the natural science, if they're pursuing a degree in natural science. And so that program provides, similar to the services I listed earlier, career and academic advising. They do college and career development workshops, but they also do things like a loan out program. So that's one of a really popular service they offer. Active students in the program can borrow textbooks. So they loan out a textbook for the semester, so it saves students the cost of having to buy their textbooks. We also have a laptop loan out program through Po'inanalu. And then we have a limited supply of some tools for programs as well. In addition to that, the program also provides paid internships. So students who fulfill the requirements are able to receive a stipend support for an internship. And this is even for programs where students have to do internships as part of their degree. And then they also do financial support for students who are seeking licensures or certifications. So for example, a student in the early childhood program might want to get first aid certified. If they're active in the program, they can get some financial support to pay for that certification. So that is our Po'inanalu program. We also have our Kukala'ula STEM Pathways program. So it's a program intended for students who are thinking about careers in natural resource management. So we provide service learning opportunities, advising, and students can also earn a stipend for participating in that program for doing different activities. We have a new Helivai Scholars program. So that's part of the system-wide 13-year initiative. So New Helivai Scholars provides, and that one is not restricted to Native Hawaiian students. This is actually open to any student of any ethnic background. The main eligibility is that they have to have either no prior college experience or there's been a significant period that they were out of college. And if they meet the eligibility, they get 100% tuition and fees coverage for the first up to 12 credits for the first year that they're enrolled at HCC. So that's a really good program too, to provide some financial support for students. We also have our Ola Niu Helivai program, which is a recent grant that we just got last year. And so this one is going to provide Native Hawaiian students with support who are interested in either going into a health or natural resource management track. And so we're going to have a variety of activities for students to help mentor them to go into one of those fields to support well-being. We're currently in the last year of our Ho'alaho grant, and that grant provided professional development support for employees on campus and also support for our Native Hawaiian students. So we had some retention activities, different programs to help students, especially transitioning in their first year of college. The last program that we have right now is our Kukalahale program, which is a professional development for incorporating culture and Aina-based or place-based learning into their work. And that's a collaborative project that we're doing with Kapi'olani Community College. So we're providing professional development for our employees on both campuses. So that's pretty much
a lot of programs.
Yeah. We're busy.
Well, I mean, that's good. You know, a lot of support for Native Hawaiians. That's amazing. Are there other resources that you guys offer as well instead of programs and events?
Yeah, so one thing too, I think that's important, you know, we do have some programs that are specifically for Native Hawaiian students, and those are mostly restricted based on funding sources, but our center in general is open to anybody. So it's not just for Hawaiian students. Anyone is welcome to use the facilities itself. So some of the resources we have that are open, number one, which was our most popular service we had at the center, was our study space. So students could come, they could hang out, you know, just have a quiet space to study, work on their homework, even just socialize with their friends. We also have microwaves available in the study lounge, so a lot of students like to come in to eat lunch in our space. And then the other really popular one was our computer lab. So we also have a computer lab. We're Mac-based, so some students prefer our lab because they prefer Macs over PC, which is what most of the other labs on campus offer. Right now, those two services are not available just because of COVID. So our center is open. It's just those spaces are not open at this time until things are a little bit improved. We also have our staff support. So staff are available to help students with anything, you know, advising. Sometimes students come because they need help with one of their classes, or they just want general questions about Hawaiian culture. So we're available to help with that too. We also have some peer mentor support. So some of our programs do have peer mentors built in. So students who are helping other students succeed with their academic and career goals. We have a lot of cultural resources in the center as well. So we have physical resources like our library. So we have a limited library of Hawaiian books and videos. Unfortunately, we don't allow anyone to check them out because a lot of these books are rare, but anybody who wants the information is welcome to come and use them while they're in the center and get the information that they need. And then we also have our staff expertise. So all of our staff have some kind of expertise in different elements of Hawaiian culture. So if anybody was curious or they had questions, we're available to provide those resources.
Do you see your all the offices that you guys have, like the labs and the study lounges, being open on the fall, since there are plans that the school might open back up during that time?
We hope so. We're going to follow whatever guidelines the rest of the campus goes by, but we do hope that, you know, there will be a time soon where we can reopen because we know that that space is important for our students. So we do hope that that's something eventually that we'll be able to return to. But I will say we do still have a lot of our virtual resources available. So all of our staff have been available for appointments with students and even our colleagues on campus. We've been holding some virtual events online. We've been doing a lot of virtual things actively. So we're still engaging. It's just a little bit different.
What kind of virtual events were you guys hosted during the pandemic?
So I'm sure everybody lives on Zoom right now. So, you know, just like everybody else, we've done a few workshops on Zoom. We've been partnering with the IKEA workshop series. So our college and career development workshops have been in partnership with IKEA. So we've had different things on scholarship, applying for scholarships. We've had some, you know, note-taking workshops. We just had a workshop yesterday that I hosted on using Google Slides. So different stuff like that, you know, helping students support them while they're in college. But we've also been hosting some other virtual events that are more focused on the culture. So, for example, this coming Wednesday, actually, we have an event coming up called Heukana Aloha Ka Kilauea, which is part of a webinar series that the University of Hawaii system is offering. And this month, our campus is in charge. So we have one workshop on the 10th, one webinar, and then another webinar on the 24th. And both of them are going to focus on different stories and the history of this place. So a lot of people don't realize that we are part of the Kapalama Ahupua'a. We're not part of Kalihi. Kalihi is our neighbor. So we're in the Kapalama Ahupua'a, and the smaller subdivision that our campus sits on is called New Helewai. And New Helewai was the name of a stream that used to run right through our campus. So if anybody has ever been, and actually even while you're driving past, if you drive slow, you can see right below the mural, the mural with the huge mural behind our campus, with the queen and everything.
Oh,
there's actually,
the parking lot.
Yeah, behind the new parking lot, there's the remnants of a stream bed. And so that's the stream that used to run through our campus, and it was called New Helewai. And New Helewai means coconut moving water, because the stream was said to be lined with coconut trees. So when the coconuts would fall in, they would move. And so that's actually the name of the place that our campus sits on. So we're doing these webinar series to kind of bring life back to those stories. And there's actually some really cool stories about this place. Without giving too much away, one interesting thing, in that stream, we don't know exactly where in the stream, but there was actually a really, really well-known battle many, many years ago. And it was between a chief from Maui and a chief from Oahu. And it was said that the battle was so fierce that the stream was blocked up by the people who had fallen. So that's somewhere in our campus area.
Wow.
So that's going to be an exciting webinar. We also have some workshops coming up on Hawaiian language. So every first Monday of the month, we partner with our Hawaiian language kumu on campus, Hau'oli Lorenzo Ilarco, and he's doing some fun ways that you can learn more about Hawaiian language. And then we're also hoping to host this May, because we haven't had our in-person activities again. Last year, we hosted our first virtual celebration to recognize our graduates from our Hawaiian Studies program, our Hawaiian Center student workers, and our Native Hawaiian graduates. And so we had about 15 students participate last year, and we're hoping to offer that again this year.
How did you guys transition from mostly this, face-to-face to an online virtual lab, I guess? Because for us, it's been a bit of a struggle because we've lost a lot of the resources that we've had. So how did you guys come up with that?
I think our biggest challenge, especially last semester when it was such a sudden transition, we had a lot of activities we had to cancel. So that was really disappointing. We had field trips, we had Malama Aina days, we had workshops. So that was really disappointing to have to cancel all those activities, especially because we were excited to be able to offer them. So last spring was a little challenging because we didn't have time to plan for a transition. But the last 2 semesters was a little bit better because we knew that we were going to be virtual. So we intentionally planned everything to be virtually. So, I think that we've adjusted. One thing that's really interesting, and I'm sure a lot of other folks on campus will probably share the same thing. Ironically, we found that for some of our workshops, especially the presentation style workshops, the attendance has gone way up virtually. So some of the workshops that we held that, in person, maybe we would have had, our hands-on workshops were always popular. We always and I think it's the same for you guys too, right? Like your stuffy events and stuff. People come to the hands-on stuff. But when we did things where it was a guest speaker or it was a presentation, we didn't always have a large audience. And so sometimes we'd have, maybe 5 people come to a presentation. Now with the Zoom format, and I think and even for myself personally, it's easier because I don't have to leave and I can just turn on my computer. But some of these presentations, we have like 20 plus people attending. So that's one of the positive things that's come out of this transition to a virtual environment.
do you see you guys hosting more virtual even after we come back? Or is this something you'd like to integrate?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to do a hybrid moving forward. And I think everybody is going to have to look at that option. And especially traffic and parking is such a difficulty. So I think moving forward, we're going to look at continuing at least offering options. So having some in person and some also virtual.
Awesome. So in addition to transitioning to online from COVID, how were your student employees were during the pandemic?
So it was a little bit of a challenge in the beginning for our student workers. We had to adjust just like everybody else. We are very fortunate that we've been able to stagger their schedules as well. So for a while, our student workers weren't working because we didn't have stuff that they could, do from home or whatever. But with time and being able to figure out what projects we could get our student workers to do, we do have some student workers that come on campus. So you may have seen some of our student workers help take care of our hale and our mala. So they've been really critical. If you've been on campus and you took a look at our garden, especially the one behind the hale, it looks really good. And that's really because of them. They've been taking care of those spaces. And then they've also been helping support some of our other activities, like our Point Honolulu program, the professional development programs. They've really been critical in helping put together a lot of those things. So we don't have as many student workers as we used to, but we adjust and we move forward.
The hale is looking good still, by the way, because we always pass by every time we get lunch at the
And
campus.
that's them. That's our student workers. They're responsible for keeping that hale up, especially with this wind.
Oh yeah, the wind. Oh, it's been raining and windy for last weeks. Yeah.
Do they prefer working from home or coming to campus?
I think they'd all prefer to come in. I think everybody is getting antsy at home. But yeah, it's been an interesting transition.
Did you guys ever plan on having some form of virtual event with the hale? I don't know what would be there, but some kind of activity where you'd send people whatever materials they'd want to make, with
a mini hale.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea. We had some activities while we were building the hale. So we had lashing. People could learn lashing techniques. We had some different workshops leading up to it. You could learn some of the basics of building the workshop, but I think it's a little bit challenging to do virtually because you would have to gather all the resources and distribute them. And it's just easier when you can do something like that in person. So, but yeah, mini hales, that's a cute idea. Maybe we can think of doing something like that in the future.
With a lot of your student workers, what are some of the other things that they do aside from the hale and the maintenance of all the native flowers we have?
So it's really important to us that our student workers, this is a learning experience for them. We don't want them to just come and be garuts and just doing random kind stuff or menial stuff for us. We want them to learn from the experience. So first and foremost, we make sure that they learn cultural things. And not all our student workers are Native Hawaiian. So there's a handful of student workers that aren't Hawaiian who've learned about the culture through this working for us. So we want them to learn about the culture. We do trainings around that, even some of the work that they do. So all of the student workers that were part of the hale process, I think only one of them had even ever done anything with a hale before. So all of the student workers who participated in that was part of their responsibilities, got to learn how to make a hale. So that was a really important learning process. We also do a lot of protocol trainings. So our student workers get to learn, some of Hawaiian protocols, like doing the chants and the songs, dances that are part of protocol. They also learn language as part of their participation here. And then we also want them to develop some basic professional skills. So communication, leadership, organization, some other professional skills as part of their experience here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kale. How can other students contact the Hawaiian Center and learn more about the program?
Absolutely. So there's many ways they can learn about the program. First and foremost, we have a website. And do you want me to read the website URL?
Sure.
So it's www.honolulu.hawaii.edu/Hawaiian. And then the other thing they can do is if they go to the HCC website and if they go to services for students, there's a link to our website at the bottom. So if they scroll to the bottom of the services for students page on our the HCC website, they'll find a link to us there. And so our website actually has information about all of the specific programs I talked about earlier. The services, even what's currently available with the virtual platform, as well as contact information for all the individual staff for those programs. So that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of us and get more information. They can also email our centers. So our center's email address is hulilik, that's HULILIK @hawaii.edu, or they can call our main line, which is 844-2345, and we can get back to them.
Are walk-ins available too?
So right now, as I mentioned earlier, our facilities, which is mainly the student lounge and the computer lab, are not currently open, but we are open every day for walk-ins. We prefer appointments first. So if somebody wanted to talk to one of our staff in person, if they can contact them individually first, just so that we can be prepared for their visit. But we do accept walk-ins. Sometimes people come by and they just have a quick question. They just can't hang out in the center like we used to.
And finally, do you have any advice for some graduating or returning students?
So I'm actually a student myself. I'm currently working on my PhD, so I get it as far as the difficulty of trying to learn online. And honestly, personally, I don't like online classes, so I understand how hard it is to stay engaged when you're learning remotely. But one thing I've really been thinking about lately is that this is unusual circumstances and it's not going to last forever. And so I think if our students can just remember that you know, there is an ending point to this challenging period, but also that this is something that we can all look back on in the future with pride because we were resilient. And I think that's one thing that I want our graduates to remember is that you are resilient. You guys come from resilient people. And so this is something that we're built to overcome. So in other words, you got this, stick it out.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Made it this far.
Our ancestors voyaged across oceans from and wherever we came from. So we're resilient people.
Exactly. A lot of
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much, Clay, for joining us.
Thank you.
Just a couple of reminders to students. Whenever you're coming to campus, make sure to use the Lumicite app. You guys can use the online version, UH.campus.lumicite.com, or you guys can download the app available at Apple and Google. Make sure you guys wear a mask, and if you guys want to make an appointment for your counselors, make sure to use Star Balance. For more information on campus updates and available services, make sure to visit honolulu.hawaii.edu/COVID-19 services.
And students, do you want to help make fun campus events, run campus media, or want to make a difference for HonCC? Consider becoming a student leader just like all of us. Email hccsod@hawaii.edu on how to apply. Although the submission deadline has passed, you can still submit artwork to be featured in the upcoming issue of the Art and Soul magazine. We accept late submissions, but act now soon because we're going to start production on the magazine. You can submit at tinyurl.com/HCCRNSoul.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram to be on the loop for more HonCC events at HonCC_SLV and at HCC Kala News. Make sure to visit dakala.net for HonCC News. Thank you guys again for listening to Kala Podcast. You guys can listen in on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Anchor. New episodes out every Monday. See you guys next time.
Bye.
I've never done this before, so I'm a little nervous.
It's okay.
It's okay. We're only recording the audio.
Okay.
Oh,
Was that okay?
yeah, that was
That was
great.
great. Yeah.
Like,